Before we start, I would like you to hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Mine Express. What exactly is Deepslate? Deepslate was released as part of the Caves and Cliffs update. With the released options, players can craft using 8 of the 29 variations of the block. Like any other stone block in the game, this block can become infested with silverfish. Players can find Deepslate underground. Anywhere between y equals 0 and y equals 64 is a possibility for finding blocks. In these lower level values, it replaces stone as the most plentiful material, so players will have no trouble obtaining as much as they want. Mining options for Deepslate. Players have 2 options for mining Deepslate blocks for crafting purposes. They can either mine with a regular pickaxe or one with a Silk Touch enchantment. Without an enchantment, players will obtain cobbled Deepslate. With the enchantment, they will receive Deepslate, which can also be created by smelting cobbled Deepslate. Once the blocks are obtained, players can craft them into building materials. Tiles, bricks, and variations of both can be created for different intricacies of builds. The mechanics behind Deepslate blocks are very similar to stone and blackstone. 8. Bridge between towers. One of the primary purposes of using Deepslate is for players to stretch their imaginations and use their creative sides. Creating this build is no exception. Players must build 2 towers reaching for the skies and join them with a bridge. The primary building material will be Deepslate, but it can be combined with a complementary material to make an interesting contrast. 7. Magical altar for a unique addition to the creative world. While it doesn't have an actual function for gameplay, this build is truly unique. As seen right out of a movie, this magical altar brings elements of the sacrificial to any creative world. Players will need crying obsidian in addition to a Deepslate to design this creative masterpiece. It can be obtained from a ruined nether portland that has been destroyed by time. 6. Path through the landscape. A Deepslate path is an excellent alternative to a traditional stone path. The material is much harder to break and appears differently based on the angle at which it is set. Players can create a multi-tone path with one material. Players will need enough Deepslate to build the size path they want to make to create this build. Then they will arrange the landscaping around the path. Alternatively, the Deepslate can be used to build paths between buildings. 5. Deepslate bridge to cross a ravine. Bridges can make a valuable addition to the landscape when players want an easier way to cross a ravine. There is no reason they have to be boring. Making a stylish bridge with Deepslate can add unique value to a player's creative world. This build can be built like any other bridge by using Deepslate as the primary component. Players can add decorative elements to make it as unique as they want, so that they can cross chasms in style. 4. Build a lighthouse to guide the way home. It's easy to get lost on the surface with its vast expanse. Players travel far and wide in search of materials and battling mobs. Finding the way back home can be one of the most challenging aspects of the game, especially when it starts to get dark. One of the best builds to help alleviate this challenge is a lighthouse, which can be seen from far away. Players will have no problem finding their way back home to their base areas. Building the lighthouse with a combination of Deepslate and stone will create an excellent distinction between materials, making the structure stand out on the landscape. Number 3. Deepslate house for protection. One of the first things a player must do in Minecraft is to establish a structure to keep them safe at night. These structures range from the most mundane piles of blocks to elaborate houses, but they all have one thing in common: they keep out the dangerous roaming mobs at night. This build elaborates on the simple housing structure to create a more detailed building. Players can use all Deepslate materials or combine them with others, such as wood and stone, to create different patterns and features. The options are nearly limitless for what can be created when making this build. Number 2. Deepslate castle for a stylish hideaway. For the highly creative player, a castle is something to strive for. Not only can they wait out the night in safety inside, but it will add a level of class to the landscape that other structures don't have. Players will need a lot of materials to make this build, as it is a larger structure. In addition to the required Deepslate for the central part of the building, complementary materials will be needed to make the additional features such as decorative trim and window frames. 1. Deepslate fortress for the ultimate impression of power. A fortress symbolizes strength and power, so it's a natural place for players to make their base. It will add a fierce presence to the creative world, giving the impression of might and fortitude when fighting off mobs. This build will take time and dedication to complete. Players will need to spend a lot of time collecting materials and positioning them correctly to achieve a structure large enough to be considered a fortress. They will design the ultimate stronghold for their base camp with any decorative touches they wish to add. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss any of our videos in the future. Also, watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video.